Hi everyone, this is Chris, and you're listening to One Cross Radio, and we're back with a new episode. Before I get back into my Jaws-a-thon or my disaster era of episodes, I wanted to take a slight detour, and I really wasn't sure what I was going to record. Truth be told, I was toying with releasing an episode from my show with Christian, Radio Arcade. I was debating releasing that in this feed, which I still might later. It's just because it's been a rough week or so. Stomach hasn't been doing too good. Mental health hasn't been doing too good. Um, just not to get into a bummer. It hasn't been terrible, but it hasn't been good. And when it's like that, it can be demoralizing in terms of motivation to research and record. But if you couldn't tell by today's topic in the title and the different free use royalty free music that I threw in the intro. Today's topic requires no research, and it just landed in my lap. And we are looking at initial impressions on things that were shared from the very recent Star Wars celebration. Want to say festival? It's not that, but it's like a Star Wars con, more or less. And we got a lot of stuff. Of course, there were updates on shows coming out. I think on Further Bad Batch, The Acolyte, which is going to be a show set. It's setting, set in the time span of the High Republic. There we go. Your boy can words. And then, of course, we got announcements on Andor Season 2, and naturally Ahsoka, and we got that dope trailer, and I'm super excited for that show. And I actually had a moment where in the Ahsoka trailer she refers to Thrawn as the heir of the Empire, and I was like, she said the thing. I'm probably going to attach that meme into the description somehow. Anyways, as dope as that trailer was, and as hype as it got me for the show, and that's the most hype I've been about a Star Wars show in a while. Now, I've been out of the loop. I haven't seen a couple of the shows. I never got into Andor. I just never got around to it. It appealed, but also it wasn't gripping to me. So just with my mental health being what it is, almost like unless it's gripping me off the bat, I'm like, I'm putting a bunch of stuff on the back burner in terms of even simply watching. I saw a little bit of the book Boba Fett, and man, I wanted that show to be good. I didn't enjoy Kenobi. I watched the first episode. There's parts I like, but there was enough there that I'm like, this isn't what I wanted. It's got some stuff that I want. It's giving me Ewan back as Obi-Wan, but I'm not sure this is what I wanted. I did see an excellent fan cut of the show where they reduced the 6 episodes to a 2.5-hour movie, and it was much more palatable. And even still, I was like, yeah, this is too long. I could not have enjoyed all 6 episodes of the show. So the shows have been hit or miss. I'm giving Mandalorian Season 3 a little bit of time so I can just jump in and binge the heck out of it. Because Mando's been consistently great. So we got teases for that. We got announcements on casting in the Ahsoka show. Characters from Rebels are showing up in Ahsoka. It wasn't revealed, but I do think it's the natural plot point for it. At the end of Rebels, Ahsoka was like, we're going to go find Ezra. So I would not be surprised if he's involved in the show. To me, that's the logical starting point. So I hope they go with that. But the big thing coming out of this, and the one that seemed to get the most traction, was an announcement of three new films. Um, Now, before I touch on those, there had been some previously announced ones that aren't outright canceled, but they seem to be either they're shelved. Um, they haven't Disney and Lucasfilm and none of the directors attached have out and out said, yeah, they're not happening, they're done. But it's gone from this will happen to, oh, yeah, no, I'd really enjoy getting the chance to do that or revisit that. So there's no, it seems that the Ryan Johnson trilogy is kind of dead in the water. There's been no formal announcements or anything like that. Rogue Squadron, similar, and unfortunately, the one that I was really psyched for, the Feige, the Kevin Feige headed Star Wars movie, is unfortunately, you could say disappointingly, but also understandably, that's been shelved. That dude's got his job set for the next 10, 15 years with everything coming out of the MCU. And now that also includes so many bloody shows. That, yeah, it was awesome, but you were like, when is he going to do this? Like, how does that man fit 48 hours into one day? um, so unsurprised in a way, unsurprisingly, but definitely disappointingly. Feige's movie is shelved as well. All of them are unofficially shelved, but it'd be interesting to see if any of them move forward. Um, I don't think there was an update on Taika's movie, Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie, other than it's still happening. And we'll see where that is, how that goes in a bit. But we did get three announcements for three movies going forward, and to me, all of them are interesting. In some ways, one has the most promise. And the other one, yeah, actually, one of them just like I'm interested. The other one I'm most interested in just because of the director involved. And then the other one I'm very interested because I like the performer. I liked aspects of the character when the character was allowed to be a character. And I think that the character can be redeemed in a better film instead of the three she was in. So I'll stop beating around the bush. The three movies that were announced was a film by director James Mangold. I think, to me and in most geek circles, he's most known for The Wolverine and even more so Logan. And his movie is setting up a new aspect to the Star Wars timeline, which I added into the title image for the show. It's in the timeline, it's the dawn of the Jedi. So that one is looking. It's a film looking at the first Jedi. So that could be interesting. Next up, we've got this one is the one I'm in many ways the most excited for and interested in. And it's a film directed by Dave Filoni, who to me and many in the community, in the Star Wars fan community, he's the fan whisperer. He is the redeemer. He is golden. For if you're outside of the know, or if you haven't watched many of the shows, Filoni was really, really involved in, to a degree, spearheaded the amazing Clone Wars show. He worked directly with George Lucas, but he really ran the ship. He did with Rebels. He's been so involved in The Mandalorian, along with Favreau, um, and it'll be great to see him go in live action. So much good Star Wars, and in my honest opinion, the best Star Wars of the last 20 plus years has been stuff that's come out under Filoni's watch. The last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars is still the Siege of Mandalore arc is, to me, still the best piece of Star Wars media that's come out since Return of the Jedi. It's not even close. It's just utterly fantastic. That should have been a movie that you could have seen on the big screen. Oh my gosh. Anyways, so he's always been involved in, traditionally mostly through animation. He's been great. He's been great in shepherding and building up the Mandalorian and a number of the shows, and so his movie is going to really be looking at the escalating war between the Imperial Remnant and the New Republic, and it's going to be building off stuff that's happened across the numerous shows. So that's the one I'm most excited for. I'd love to see what Filoni could bring to a movie. The magic he sprinkles in on the shows has been utterly fantastic. How he can bring in stuff from the old expanded universe or legends, and recontextualize it in a way that honors what it was before within the new canon has been fantastic. So I'm gonna love seeing what he brings to the table in the film. That's the one I'm most excited for, and that's of course in the after after Return of the Jedi, during the time of the Mandalorian show and the Ahsoka show, and Book of Boba Fett, but before the rise of the First Order time. So what you were getting with the sequel trilogy, and the final film that was announced was a film by, and I'm gonna butcher this name. I'm so sorry. Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy, and it's going to be starring Daisy Ridley, coming back as Rey. I don't want to call her Rey Skywalker, but whatever. But it's going to be starring Rey. It's going to be taking 15. It's going to take place 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker, and it's going to be looking at Rey trying to start a new Jedi Order, which on the timeline map is coincidentally named the New Jedi Order, which is also a great cut to old expanded universe fans, because that was a fantastic series of books that was about Luke starting a new Jedi Order. And then you also got the Yuzong Vong and so many things. And man, New Jedi Order, I think, went on for like 31 books. The title's got equity. This is the one that I think is going to be, in some ways, the most apprehensive with fans, or I'll rephrase that, with a section of the fan base, because make no mistake, as much as I might not enjoy the sequels, I don't think they were well-made films. They should have been mapped out better. I don't need to go down that rabbit hole, but it did introduce an entire new generation of fans to Star Wars. It did give a lot of young girls a role model who they and a character they could identify with and they really enjoyed. So for them getting to see this character a couple years down the line, that's awesome. That's actually, I'm not going to deprive someone's joy of that. I'm not going to poop on that. That's a cool feeling. Um, but also, I think the character of Rey and Finn and Poe, I think they had a lot of possibility. They could have been much better characters than they were in the films. All three had all three characters had terrific performers, but they were underserved by lack of like lack of actually having a plan for the trilogy, um, and lack of quality writing to those characters. So I'd even said to some of the guys afterwards, I'm like, I would like to see these characters outside this trilogy because I think they can be, to the people like me, who who kind of enjoyed them, but the sequels are what they are. Um, like I think you could actually get them done well, and I think they could also, if done well, win over the naysayers from that. I don't like so many people went at the sequel trilogy so hard, and then at points ridiculously, um, and some of it got tied into those characters where it's like, and the actors playing the characters, which is just stupid. But it's also it's not them. It's it's the studio, it's the writing, it's so many things that aren't just on the actors doing the job. Um, they each brought a charisma to the role, a likability to their performance, and I'd say especially Daisy Ridley. So I'm really excited to see her get the chance to have a comeback to the franchise in a main movie. I'm curious if, especially with how John Boyega went torched Earth on Disney and Lucasfilm after Rise of Skywalker, if they'd bring him back. But I'd like to see where those characters are at as well, and I'd love to see them be done well, in the hands of. It sounds like this movie is going to be an isolated one. So they can really focus on that story and delivering it well without being like, oh, we gotta remake the first trilogy to win the audience back in the first one, and then subvert expectations needlessly in the second one. And then in the third one be like, oh crap, we didn't plan anything out. We're at the end, and so much happens. Um like I'd love to see these I'd actually love to see these characters get their moment to shine on the big screen. So those were the big three that were announced. Now there was some other stuff announced as well. I I might have missed it, but I couldn't find too many details. But they did announce they're incorporating the much beloved time frame from the EU, the old EU, or again Legends. They're incorporating the old Republic into the franchise now, and this is stuff that it's also this kind of thing that makes me really excited as a Star Wars fan. Something that the Star Wars used to do really well was having multiple like one timeline, but multiple time frames, for lack of another term. Like they'd have the old Republic going on, and the nice thing was it was so far separated from the original trilogy timeline and the prequel trilogy timeline that it was in the same universe, but it was thousands of years earlier, that it could not impact it couldn't damage it. It could really be its own thing. And then they repeated that success with sorry about that. I just had to cut a bunch out because I just kept mixing up the name. But that's something that the old thing did, they'd be able to do the Old Republic and then jump to Legacy, which took place like 130, 140 years after. Uh, I think it was Return of the Jedi, if not a little bit later. Um, and then it was far enough that it got to be its own thing and still be in the galaxy, still be having the scars of what had gone on from Return of the Jedi, and then in Legends, Heir of the Empire, the Yuzong Wong War, and so much after that. um like, it was really cool that you could go to all these different places within the same universe, but it be familiar but different enough. The shows that Lucasfilm has been doing, like, they've been visiting other time frames, but for the most part, like, the only spot they've been extensively visiting a new time frame has been the High Republic through books and comics. But they haven't ventured into that yet within the shows, or the movies. So I'm really excited about that, where we're getting that on the big screen, and then hopefully that'll inspire some shows, because it'll give more variety, and I think variety can be very beneficial for Star Wars. um, as a longtime fan who's been very disappointed at numerous points by so many things from the films, sequels, prequels, what have you, like, having this smorgasbord, this buffet of things to choose. There's so much to like that I'm like, okay, cool. I can focus on this and not let this other thing ruin everything for me. And I want that for Star Wars. Of course, I want everything to be good, but not everything's going to be good. Not everything's going to be to my liking, and that's not the bar. But I think you get what I mean. And if done well, this gives that opportunity. If you don't like the sequels, but you like some of the characters, if the Rey movie works, awesome. That might give more material for those characters down the line. If you don't like where the franchise has gone at all post Return of the Jedi, like, you don't like Ahsoka, you don't like Mando, then cool. You've got the original trilogy, the prequels, and then as we're going forward, like, the Acolyte is going to be a High Republic show, so you're going to get that. You're going to get Dawn of the Jedi with the James Mangold film, and then if that does well, it might spin off into some other shows. You'll be the bevy of riches of things to enjoy and get away from the things that you don't like. That's going to be really good. Mike and I talked about it, and we're like, it seems, at least for a bit, and it's fair, it's what Star Wars did 10 years ago. Oh my gosh, not even 10, like 15 now. 15 years ago now. Ugh, I feel old. Um, but, like, really what they did for a good chunk after the prequel trilogy, you could almost look at Damage Control. It was a lot of recontextualizing. They didn't just jump to a new era, they didn't write it off. They developed games, comics, books, um, some really good storylines in that era, and it made you like it. It made you like the era a lot more, even if you didn't necessarily like the films. And because there was a lot of stuff around that you liked, it made those films much more palatable. Ideally, you won't have to do that with a movie, but seems like it's going to be 2 out of 3 now. Because Mike and I were joking around. It's like, yeah, it seems like they're doing some stuff to almost redeem the sequel trilogy to the wider fan base. And you know what? I'm going to say good for them for doing it. As long as they're also doing other stuff, which they clearly are. I like liking things in Star Wars. I like liking things in general. I'm also really glad that they're doing that instead of, like, years ago, there were so many rumors like, oh, they're just gonna nuke it from existence, and that's never been Star Wars' deal. Um, they've never done a retcon to that degree or a reboot or anything like that. I'm really really glad they're not going that route and that they're continuing Rey's story with Daisy, and it's enough time later that you can separate it, fill in the gaps, and you can then retroactively make her a much better character than she was there. Hey, they did it with Anakin in the Clone Wars show and so many books. So yeah, that's today's episode. It's a little bit shorter than normal. I'm just trying not to circle too much, but it's nice to be excited about Star Wars again. And it's nice to be going in many different directions, and in other times that can be a bad thing. You like having a singular focus, but I think for this franchise, that's the best direction for it. I'm really excited to see what new they add to the canon, especially with Filoni being so involved. I'm really excited to see what they recontextualize from Legends, because I'm a Legends boy. I love it. I love the old EU. I'm really excited to see what they build into it. Of course, there's speculation with Filoni's film that like I've even seen it online. People have already nicknamed it Heir to the Empire, and that would make sense. That would be a very Filoni move. I would not be surprised if it really builds up to involving Thrawn. Of course, it won't be a direct adaptation of that classic EU story, but I know, man. It's there. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Sorry if it was if the energy was a little bit weird. My stomach's been really bad today, and my legit, I actually had a mini anxiety attack, like 15 minutes before the episode. But then I suddenly got the urge to do it. I'm like, nope, go now before you talk yourself out of it again. So that's where we are. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Let me know your thoughts, please. Let me know which movie you're most excited about, where you'd love to see him go. If you're excited Rey's coming back, if you thought that character or performer was enjoyable, if you do it, please do it nicely. Just because we can not like things and still not be dicks about it. And also let me know your thoughts on the Ahsoka trailer, because damn, that was dope. Anyways, hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care, stay safe, and God bless, my friends. Peace.